Hello and welcome to the NYN Show. Today I have Beatrice with me in the studio. I'm going to chat to her to find out about her role as a mom, her role as a wife, her role as a businesswoman, and a few more details. So I'll go over to Beatrice now and ask her to introduce herself. Beatrice, can you introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Nanaya. And yes, my name is Beatrice Yakubu. I'm from Northern Ghana, and yes, I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur, and indeed, I'm here to share my journey, how I came into England and how I have transitioned from my role into becoming what I do now. So thank you for inviting me over.
You're very welcome. Now tell me more. You're a wife, you're a mom. Tell me a bit more about your family. So,
okay.
Are you the only wife or the second wife
Bless
or the first wife?
Okay, so let me share you a story. When I was young, my dad had 7 wives, and he was the chief of my village. And the thing that my elder mother used to say is, if you do anything at all, marry a man who would have 1 wife. So yes, I stick to her advice, and yes, I married a man who would have just me. Yeah.
Excellent. And then you've got children as well.
I do have 3 children, 18, 16, and 11. So.
You look so young. I can't believe you have an 18-year-old. So now tell me then, you mentioned you're from the northern part of Ghana.
Yeah. So yes, if you are a Ghanaian and watching, at least you have heard about our Vice President, Baumia. So he is from Walawali and I'm from Gwabulga, some few miles from Walawali. I was born in the village and grew up there until I went to secondary school in Walawali Secondary, finished, went into nursing and became a nurse many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you always live in the north before coming to London, or you lived elsewhere in Ghana?
No, I lived in Bolgatanga, so that's where I did my training to become a nurse. And then when I completed, I worked in Bolgatanga Hospital. I did midwifery as well in Kumasi, but I went back to Bolga. And a few years later, I had the opportunity of coming to England. Yeah.
And it's okay. Now tell me, what was it like when you first stepped foot in England?
Do you really want to know?
Oh, of course I do, yes. Please tell me.
Okay, so my husband, bless him, he came first and he was working, and then I joined him. When I was coming, it was in December, and I still remember the date. And he didn't say how cold it was. But I left Ghana at 28 degrees and got to England, and it was -3 within a space of 6 hours. Yeah. You know, I almost went back in the plane and went back to Ghana because it was that cold. Yeah.
What was the first job you did when you got here?
So I got here, and of course in England, when you come, you have to. Now the other thing was that he was in the north. So when I got to England, I did not get the opportunity like many Ghanaians will do. You come and you meet other Ghanaians. I didn't meet a lot of Ghanaians. It was in the north. The day I arrived, I was taken in a car to somewhere in the north. And then I had to stay for a couple of months to get a job because of DBS and all that, because all I knew to do was nursing. And so, yes, I stayed a couple of months before I started. Started in a nursing home that was soul crushing, going from midwifery, receiving babies to actually looking after people who were, at the end of life. No disrespect to them, but, that wasn't exciting for me. And I had to do that while I waited for my PIN number, which is the professional identification number.
Okay, so I'll come in here then. Yeah. You had worked as a midwife, looked after babies, see them being born, and you've come in and your first job is a caring for the elderly. Yeah. And but that some people, when they come into the country, their first job is cleaning. So I suppose that's I don't even know what to say about that. But yeah, it was an experience. Yeah. Now tell me, you mentioned the north. So where exactly is the north?
Oh yeah. So when I came, my husband he had a job in Doncaster Royal Infirmary, which is close to Leeds, and then he got here. I mean, it's a situation where I call a miracle, because somebody might say, "Oh, it was luck," but for me, I'm a believer. So it was a miracle. We got the arrangements and papers and everything, and I was nursing a baby. And while we were talking with a friend to help us, to help him come, he worked in theatres, and he got an opportunity to work with somebody who came directly from Doncaster Hospital to work on a voluntary basis in Bolgatanga Hospital. So as they were operating in the theatre, he asked, and then, conversation, he said, "Oh, I'm just waiting for this." And he said, "Give me the papers, I'll go and give it to the human resource person in Doncaster." So that is how he got his job, to come into Doncaster. But then when he got to Doncaster, it was like the places were filled up. So he was moved to a sister hospital, which is called Bassett Law Hospital, and it's in Wexop. It's a small town. And then so, yes, when I came, that's where I settled. But I was then nagging him, saying, I was born in a village, rural area. I don't want anything more rural. Can we go to at least Doncaster?
So your husband, you talked about theatre, and is he a doctor?
He's a nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's a nurse. He has always done theatre nursing. I call him a nurse, but he's not really a nurse, because he can't. I do tease him sometimes. So he can't even serve a bedpan. So which nurse cannot serve a bedpan?
Is he being a typical man then, I guess? Or?
Not really, not in that way. Okay. Perhaps that could be, but then since he completed nursing, he just went into theatre, and he's done all the trainings in theatres, and he just remained there over 20 years. So,
well, I suppose it's a career, is that profession that brought you two together then, all the way back in Ghana?
Yes. In fact, we were mates in secondary school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've been together for a long time. She says they were mates in secondary school, but
we were classmates in secondary school, but we were anything boyfriend, girlfriend. Even when we were in nursing, we finished before we then realized, okay, we could be together. Yeah.
Is he a northerner as well?
He is a northerner, yes. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now let's talk about what you're doing now, because I know you're not a nurse anymore. Tell me more about that side.
So what I do now is I am an entrepreneur and social media marketing, for that matter. So initially, as I was doing my nursing, went into Doncaster, at some point I realized that they were being over-westernized for my liking, and I was busy teaching them about my culture, but they couldn't see anything about me or any other body who looked like them. So my daughter's first school, she was the only black girl, and in her, moving on from Wexop to Doncaster, it was the same. So we had a bit of tension with us actually getting them to understand our culture. So we moved to London. And around about that time, then the government also changed the school fees rule from 3,000 to 9,000. That I felt was a blow for me, because as a mother, I've always thought I would be able to pay my children's school fees. And some people would say that it's government's money, and then when they are older, they would pay, or when they are working.
So can I come in a bit? When you say the school fees went up, are you referring to the university
fees? The university fees from 3,000 to 9,000. Okay.
And that would be for your first child then, because she's the one that's 18.
Exactly. So by that time, they were young, but it was just like a blow to me. How am I going to find this money to be able to pay children's school fees? I'm working non-stop, and there's no money. And then so I decided that a friend said, okay, why don't you do agency nursing? Because at least there's some money there.
They get more money, a bank shift, I hear.
Exactly. So I jumped into that, opened up a limited liability company. That was good, because the government didn't have to get my money. Okay. So, but you know how the things are. The government, they are also clever when it comes to things like that, because that was a loophole, and then they closed it, and it wasn't profitable anymore. You had to do umbrella company. And then I just said, you know what, I would like to do something else. So
Okay, so you left nursing,
Yeah.
and now you're a social media marketer.
Yeah.
Now, what does it mean then if we say social media marketer?
Okay. So in terms of social media, when the government changed the rules again and I was contemplating on what to do, I was thinking of doing something health related. But one day I was just watching TV and I saw this lady, Caroline Marsh. She is, you can check her on social media. She is a Zambian, they call her Secret Millionaire. So it's a program where somebody, a wealthy person will go to live with a community. And they are philanthropists. And their reason is to do that and find out what do the people really need. They go undercover. So that's what she did. And so when I saw her, a black young woman, I was so blown away. I was like, I'm here just fretting over 9,000 to pay my children's school fees. Look at a fellow woman really, you know, making it and helping others, because she donated 70,000 to that community.
Wow.
Number one, she's from Africa. Number two, to have that kind of money to donate to white people was just fascinating. So I was interested to know more about this lady, and I found out on her website and other places that, you know, how she made the money, because like they say, I was looking for 3 things to disqualify myself. Was her dad rich? Was her husband rich? Did she win a lottery? Those were the things I was looking for. And it so happened that none of them was true. So she just came from Africa like us and became courageous for some reason and started a property business that made her a millionaire. So I said, okay, why don't I start something? Even if I don't become a millionaire, at least I'll be able to pay my children's school fees. So I went for business events. I initially, because she is a property investor, I was trying to do property. But when I went for business business meetings, I then realized that actually there was something that you could do about social media. Up until that point, as a nurse, I didn't know anything about that. But even before, and I was also having problems with my girls, you know, they won't leave social media. And I said, okay, if that's the case, why don't I learn it so that I can teach them? Okay. And that's what brought me into social media marketing.
Interesting conversation, Beatrice. We will take a commercial break and then we will come back shortly to explore. So just before the break, Beatrice was telling us her journey, you know, how she was a nurse to how she's now a social media marketer. And she was about to tell us the sort of companies she's worked with before. So we'll pick up from here. Beatrice, please continue. Which companies have you worked with so far?
Thank you for that question. So in terms of the companies I work with, from nursing, in the first instance, I didn't know anything about social media. I started because I just wanted to learn this so that I could guide my children as well as create a business for myself. So it took a long time to learn, and it so happened that my children really picked that really quickly because obviously if you have teens, they were born into social media and it's a no-brainer for them. So when I finally released them, I would say, because my eldest daughter, who is 18, before she was 16, she always wanted to put makeup on, and I remember she would go to school, get makeup on, and come home, and I would drag her into the bathroom and clean it because I said, you are not putting makeup on until 16. So when the break was off and she could do that, she just went on Instagram, created an account, and within few months she was getting followers. She's now built that account into 35,000 followers as a beauty person. So in terms of that, she is, so she started making money straight away.
And that's a very good example to show, because 35,000 followers is a lot.
Yeah. So because she built this community, what then happened was that people are reaching out to her and saying, can you post this for me? And can you post that for me? And then obviously she's getting paid for that. Then the second one, she was 12, Vanessa. So Vanessa also, she had creativity. She loved to do pictures. And so this is for you if you're listening, because as parents, sometimes we really, really disrespect our children's gift, and we're always forever pushing them into do what we like. Vanessa always loved taking pictures. So when it happened, I asked her I was doing some blog, and I asked her for photos, and that was when she started that, she could also take pictures and put on Instagram. So she started with the food, and it evolved to her loving the aspect of cooking herself, and helping people understand the recipes that she used. And then she also got a community. So her followers is over 4,000. And so she then had to do with London food bloggers. Okay. So she had a community of people that she was following. She was always the youngest in the community with London food bloggers. And that's what she then started working with other companies as well, because restaurants will reach out to her to promote their food or their food ingredients and things like that. So that's how she also started making money. But for me, that it was a challenge, because the saying that it's hard to teach old dog new tricks were actually played out. But what then happened was I was able to start communicating with people gradually. And when I started building people who were interested in what I was talking about, I reached out to Caroline. So the lady I mentioned, the secret millionaire. Yes. I reached out to her, and she said, you can come and work with me. It wasn't what I did was initially, I just sent her an email to say that I really thank you and I appreciate the fact that you are doing what you're doing, but I saw you on TV, and this is where I've achieved as a result.
So how did you email her? Through Instagram? Or?
No. I emailed her. I went to her website, got her address, email address, and emailed her.
And she responded?
Personally, and she responded.
Beautiful.
So
because sometimes when people are so famous, you think, oh God, they don't have time to message me. I've tried to, there's a lady Pandora, and I've tried to message her, and she's my friend's foster sister, and she still hasn't responded, because I want to get her on this show. So it's very impressive. Maybe I need to learn from you how you managed to get a response. But it did work though, didn't it?
Yeah. So what I want to say to that is that sometimes with persistence happen. In marketing, they say that when somebody doesn't respond to you, there could be various reasons. Yeah. Sometimes I think we are quick to judge that, because they are of this status, they are not interested. It could be that the person has traveled. It could be that the person has a lot on their plate right now. There could be so many reasons.
Could it also be that she's got people managing their account for her?
Exactly.
And they're prioritizing.
And they're prioritizing, yes. So when I said London businesses were reaching out to Vanessa, did you know how many people she actually reached out to? Over 60 companies, that young girl, reached out to people who just ignored her DM. But she persisted until someone said yes, and as soon as she got the first yes, then the other yeses were coming.
Good. I hope they don't get malams following them, because if you go to Instagram, this malam, that.
Yeah. So in terms of the malams, that's another point that I always try to get parents to understand. Your child can be on Instagram, your child can be on Facebook without their face. My daughters have built their businesses without their face on social media. Plus, social media is like a mirror. What you touch is what you see. So when people are saying that, in fact, I say this when Black Lives Matter happened. I never saw one on my platform, because if you engage in that conversation, then of course social media will show you that. Not that I didn't care, but it wasn't just something I wanted to get involved in.
Okay, that's beautiful. So you're working very hard. Your kids are working hard. So it's all become a family.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So if somebody is watching us and they feel, oh, that sounds really interesting. I'm keen. Even me, I think I need to speak to you off air. How will people reach you then? What happens in that instance?
Okay, so in terms of reaching me, my website is beatriceyakubu.com, and on social media is Beatrice Yakubu Media for all the handles that we. So for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, that's where I'm at. And just digressing from about Caroline. So when I had that brief conversation with Caroline, we sort of left it there because there was nothing to advance the conversation. But I was following her on social media.
But she did say you could come and work for her.
That was before. So I'm just building the picture to how she said, come and work with me. So I was following her until she posted something about the fact that she was going to be speaking in London. At that point, I didn't know that she wasn't even in London. She lives somewhere in Swindon. So when she was coming to a women's conference, I said, I'm coming with you. So I went with my sister. I said, that lady I've been talking about, she's coming to London and I want to go and see her. That was my Beyonce anyway.
So you actually met her one-on-one?
So we met her, and even before I got the chance to speak to her, because there were so many women and everybody wanted to speak to her, she was one of the speakers. But during lunch, my sister kept saying, go and talk to her, but there was a long line, so I lost that opportunity. Then just before the second session, the question was, what have you learned so far in this and within your table, because we're sat in tables. Within the table, can you speak among yourselves so that one person will come on stage and say? And of course, when I went on that stage, I said, I came to see Caroline because this is what Caroline has done for me, or seeing Caroline has done for me. And she was next to go on to speak, and that point she hadn't spoken. So when she just got on the stage, she said, as I was listening to you, I had the feeling that I should work with you.
Perfect.
So that was my another miracle moment.
So what have you done with Caroline so far?
So Caroline did. She has always she does the business of property is ongoing, but she's when you see a millionaire, they don't have one business. So that's why most of us are not rich, because we are just doing one job and expecting the money to come. So she is into several businesses, including financial education, where she educates people to understand the concept of money and wealth building. So this is a company that she opened with her business partner in Zambia. So she's Zambian as an African. Yeah. And then she wanted it to become digitalized, because at that point they were training bankers. So they won a lot of awards with Stanbic Bank, Bank of Zambia, and all those for the quality of education. So I helped her with their social media and launching some of their programs. In terms of other companies too, I work with another company that's a US company. It's called Complex Psychology, and is run by one lady whose mission is to bring diversity into managerial arena, so that people would understand how to heal racial trauma, how to understand it in the first place, and how to heal racial trauma, and then diversity and inclusion. I've worked with another therapist. She used to do radio and TV as well. She's worked as a therapist for over 40 years. But when it became digital, everything became digital, she was lost. She's 70. She was lost. She didn't know what to do. And I happened to meet her in one of the business events that I went to. And I've worked with her since. We're still working with her.
Excellent. So hopefully you can add NYN Global to your list one day, because I need help.
Sure.
But no, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I just want to find out, you left nursing to do what you're doing now, and it sounds very successful. What if somebody is trying to get into nursing now and they're listening to this, watching you? What's your advice to them?
So what I would say is that there is a season for everything. I'm not saying that nursing is bad. Nursing would always be my part of my story. When I was a child, I always wanted to be a nurse, and I loved nursing in terms of what I did in Ghana. came to England, nursing was good. I worked in theatres, recovery. It wasn't stressful. It's just that I didn't see how the way out, like when I grow older, what would I do with nursing in terms of going on retirement? How will that pan out for me? If you want to do nursing, it's good, because I was speaking to one lady today just before we came on, said she's just come from Ghana as a psychiatry nurse. And I said, if you plan yourself for 10 years, this is what I want to achieve, you can always achieve it. Yeah. You don't have to do nursing forever. You can do nursing forever if you choose. But what you want to do is that you are planning your life so that you can become financially successful, even as a nurse. But what we don't do is that we leave it to the point that we are making the money, we are spending the money, and then before we realize we are older and there's no money, and like you are really stuck. You're thinking about your retirement and you're panicking. I really didn't like to be feeling that way. So yes, if you are going into nursing, thumbs up for you.
All right. I think what I've taken from it as well is that sometimes people are in jobs, they don't feel brave enough to leave it, even though it's not fulfilling their goals, and they're in it just for the sake of it. I mean, your example shows that if it's not working and if you're not, it's not fit for purpose anymore, then that you could explore other options. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's talk about you. It's sort of like wanting to talk about your children. You know, you're very proud of them. You've talked about them, the three of them. And we know I met Vanessa in a different space, and I'm hoping I'll get her to speak to me on this show. Tell me more. What makes it work for you as a mum?
So I had to retrain myself.
Okay.
Because the most important thing for me is for my children to be successful. And the only way that they could be successful is if I became intentional about it. So my mom didn't go to school, but my mom's desire has always been for us to be successful. And I can say that I'm successful in her eyes. Okay. What I did not like was the fact that my children would be in debt as a result of a university when my mom paid my school fees. For me, I just felt that was not, because if I were in Ghana, I would do that. I came here for a better life, so under normal circumstances, they shouldn't finish with debt. But what did I do? I had to train myself on how to speak to them. Because as Africans, we are used to, children are seen but not heard. If your child cannot be heard in your presence, guess what? They won't be heard anywhere. And that's not nice. So I had to train myself so that I know how to speak to them. I read a lot of books. So how to speak to teenagers, how to speak to anybody, how to be brave, how to feel the fear and do it. All those things, I had to read the books so that I could find a way of engaging them. Because, social media is good and is bad. Yeah. If your child is on social media, they are there for other things. If you are sending a child out to be on social media for a business, they have to be up to that level to be able to speak to entrepreneurs and to be able to just be confident in themselves for somebody to even find them worthy of following. And so, yes, I had to train myself to be able to help them.
Okay, yeah. That's excellent. What is the best part about being a mum, and what has been the worst part so far?
So the best part about being a mum is when your children can say, you're my role model. Because for me, that's what I've always craved for. And I found that being a nurse because they didn't like nursing, and I would go to work and leave them. So I couldn't be a role model for them in that aspect. I could be a role model for them at home, but not in my career. But now they can say that my mom is my role model, and they call me Mama Ja because I manage them. So Mama Ja is a name coined by the Kim Kardashians, where they call their mom is their manager. So
I need to watch the Kardashians.
It's them who watch it. I don't watch it. Yeah. So for me, that's one thing to see your children being successful and being able to speak to other people. Now, when I was in this, when I was training myself in 2018 or 19, we went for a conference, and it was an open evening with Mavis Amankwa. She's a Ghanaian as well. Mavis Amankwa is the business, she's the business owner. She's a multiple award-winning business owner with diversity and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. So during the session, Vanessa wouldn't speak to anybody because she was scared to death to speak to people. And then I could see her going into the toilet when they said, "Oh, mingle." And then I quickly went to her and I said, "So how are you feeling?" And I had spoken to one lady who said she was a food blogger before. Okay. So I just introduced Vanessa to her, and that was it. And since then, she herself goes out to do her events, to speak with people. So sometimes exposing your children gradually makes the difference. And I think for me, that was the best part. The challenging part is, of course, they're teenagers. And children in the UK, there's always the saying that children don't respect, children don't do. I mean, we always focus on what they don't do, but we forget about what they do. So for me, I had to shift my thinking from there. The fact that they are not who they are. In terms of, instead of saying my children don't respect, my children respect me every day if I choose to. Because you won't respect me if I don't respect you. Yeah. And I think that's what the missing piece for us as Africans is that we have to, there are cultural things that are great in our upbringing, but there are other things that we need to literally scrap. Because if you're hitting your child, why? I don't even know.
I get that part. So what role has hubby played in all of this then?
Have I?
What role has your husband, hubby, played?
Oh yeah, so hubby is the breadwinner.
Does he water the plants?
He is, yes. Okay. So he is the head of the home, and he gives us his blessings to be able to do that, and he's rooting for us in every good way. And he's proud to see us succeed. When I started, obviously there wasn't money coming in consistently. He was there to help us water through the storms. Yeah.
So he's still in NES?
He's still in NES, yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, that's good. What do you have any values, personal values?
Yeah, so I'm a Christian and I believe in God. I also believe in respecting people. I remember I do some work on Upwork as well. It's a freelance website. And one of the questions they would ask you is, how do you speak to people? How do you choose your tone of voice to speak to people? I always laugh at that. I speak to people as I would like to be spoken to, or I treat people as I would like to be treated, because I believe that I don't have to see you to respect you. Yeah. You're a human being. And for that, for me, as long as you're a human being, I will treat you with respect, and because I also want people to treat me with respect. Course, and I believe that what you send out comes back. Like they say, social media is a reflection of what you do. So
that's good. Yeah. So we've sort of almost come to the end of the interview, and I'm just wondering, is there anything else you need to add, or if somebody is watching us, what are the key things you want them to take away from our chat? Wonderful.
So in terms of takeaways, if you are a parent, and a parent in the UK for that matter, a Ghanaian parent,
or an African parent.
Or an African parent, it's imperative that you put your children first. Because most of the time we are chasing the money. Like the money, we are forever chasing it. And I realize that no matter how much I chase it, it's not going to replace the time with my children. And I also feel that the unfortunate thing that happens is that we chase the money, we make the money, and the money goes home. And then so we are vilifying our children. In fact, I'm feeling emotional about that now. We are vilifying our children for being disrespectful, for being this and that, but we are not there with them. If you're not there with the children, how are you going to get them to do what you want? Yeah. How are you going to get them off the gadgets? How are you going to get them to read their books, to do their homework? But work is not bad, but the extra work we are doing, we are forever working. And I did that before. It's not that I didn't do any of that. I could work 7 days straight. I could, bring babysitters now and then to look after the children, and I would go to work. But there came a time I said, hang on a minute, I'm really losing valuable time here. Building who? Building houses in Africa for people to live in and enjoy and perhaps poison you.
Thank you for that. I think everybody's situation is different.
Absolutely.
And I'm just so happy to know that obviously you have a supportive husband. There are people who are also single parents and they have to try and make it work for them. But what I'm taking from this is that there are opportunities and we need to always make sure our children come first, whether we're from a single parent home or a double parent home and all that. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you said you're a Christian as well. And so talking about your values, you mentioned that. So I guess this is it, really.
Yeah, I just want to add to last point to single parents.
Okay.
I think the greatest gift in this country is the welfare system. And I see that the government actually helps a lot of women who are single parents. I appreciate that we still have to go to work, but the opportunity is there. So for instance, you are allowed to, or you can work up to 20 hours or so, but the government will support you in most of these things. But it's just the question I would say is about how we think about it, because in everything the mindset is very important. Because if you're a single parent and you're working 20 hours, the rest of the hours, you could actually pour that into your children or learning something new, so that, you know, that could serve you in the future, because the children will grow. And then when you are investing the time into them, you are building that relationship so that when they grow up, they know the value. Because I know the value my mom poured into me when I was growing up, even in the village. So I know that your children would appreciate you for being there for them. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
So my absolute last question, how do you manage to stay so slim then? I speak for myself.
Well, okay, so when I had I've always been slim, I would say. I'm not built the African type. And I used to get bullied for it when I was growing up, because they would say, you don't have bottom. So, but of course, I had children, definitely I would have put on weight if I did not take certain things into consideration. So I just think being mindful of how I want to look like, and just putting making sure that I do some exercises, because especially now that I don't physically go out to work, I have to exercise at least 3-4 times a week to keep my blood moving.
So what sort of exercise do you do then? Does the bedroom exercise count?
Just the bedroom exercise. I don't go to gym.
Oh.
No.
You have to give me hubby's number then, so I can check in with him.
Oh, is that what you're meaning? Oh, no, that's not what I mean. Sorry. No. Oh, he won't be that strong to do that.
After 3 kids.
No. Okay, it's a living room exercise then. It's a living room exercise where I do the TV.
Everywhere, in the living room, in the bedroom.
No, where I look at the
bathroom.
TV and look at those who are doing their exercises, and I follow.
Okay.
That's
All right. Well, thank you. On that note, Beatrice, I would like to say well done for chatting to me. I know a lot about you. And lastly, if you repeat your contact details, we also have it on the screen for our viewers. And
okay, so my contact email is info@beatriceyakubu.com. My social media handles is Beatrice Yakubu Media for Facebook, Beatrice Yakubu Media for Instagram, Beatrice Yakubu Media for LinkedIn, and Beatrice Yakubu for YouTube. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching the NYN Show with Beatrice. As we know, or as you know, we do like to use beautiful, inspirational stories to help our viewers create their own beautiful stories one day. So please do check out Beatrice and her kids' social media handles, and we look forward to catching up again soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.